Hey, happy Friday, guys. I'm fired up to be here with you, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of your day on a wonderful Friday. Today, we're going to talk about renting. Is renting cheaper or more expensive than buying, right? And you'd think that'll be an easy answer. Let's listen to Joe and find out what it is. It's not that easy. There's a lot to it, right? I don't want to get into the would you rather. I think most people would rather own. If you can't own, why wouldn't you own? You can do different things to your property that you can't do if you rent. Why wouldn't you want that opportunity, right? You want to put a fence up, you put it up. You want to paint the walls, you paint the walls. You think the cabinets are ugly, tear them down, put new cabinets in. You can do that if you own. It's challenging to do it if you rent. Man, isn't that nice, right? Not going to go into that part. What I want to go into is the financials only, okay? So let's dig into, let's say, a first-time homebuyer situation, right? And kind of equate that to what you could do renting. But I want to look home to home. I'm not going to look at a really low rental, but, kind of an average house. And I'm not going to do the opposite either. So let's look at kind of a normal, I'll tell you, in Port St. Lucie, the normal house is a 3-bed, 2-bath with about 1900 square feet. Probably last updated in about '07, right? So certainly good looking, clean, right? Nothing wrong with it, but dated, not dated to the 80s, but dated. And if you're going to go get a rental like that, and you're going to be in Port St. Lucie, not really in one of the lower areas, but not really in one of the really nicer areas, just kind of an average area, you're probably looking at about 23 to 2600 a month, right? That's just the way it is right now, 23 to 2600. And when you come in on a rental, with minor exception, I would say 90% of the time, they're going to be looking at first month, last month, and a deposit. Guys, if you have any questions, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, anything like that, just go post your questions in the comments, and I will certainly answer before I get done with this video. But you're looking at first month, last month, and deposit. So if you're looking at, let's say, the lower end of that, $2,300, that's $6,900, right? You're probably going to have an application fee. That application fee is going to be $50 to $100. So now you're at about $7,000. Now, if you've got pets, it's going to be more challenging. And they're also going to likely add some sort of pet rent. It might be 25 bucks a month, 50 bucks a month, something like that. And then they're going to have a one-time pet fee, right? Because they're thinking, I need that fee because I'm going to have to clean a little bit more because these people have a pet, right? So they're going to charge you maybe 200 bucks, maybe 500 bucks, something like that. And every situation is different. There's no like, hey, how do rentals work? It works in accordance with what the owner of that particular property wants to negotiate. Period. That's just the way it is. So some of them are really sweet and gentle. Some of them are coming at you with some pretty wild terms, right? I've seen lately the way people get landlords to say yes to their applications, because just like the purchasing side of the industry, right? With renting, you've got 5, 10 applications coming in on every rental property. So how do you get that landlord to say yes to yours? Sometimes you offer first, last, and 2 deposits, or first and last 2 months plus a deposit, or maybe you pay the whole year on day one, right? If you've got the cash to do so. So we got people coming down right now who are saying, hey, I love the area. I want to get out of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, something like that. But I don't know if I want to buy quite yet. Let's just kind of feel out the area, see what it feels like. And then I'll purchase, then I'll take that step. So what they're doing is saying, I'm going to take all this cash. I'm going to make sure I get the rental I want. Hey, it's 2,300 bucks times 12 is 23,000 plus 46 is 27,600. Here's 27,600 plus a $2,000-3,000 deposit, whatever makes you happy, right? Now the landlord's thinking, whoo, this looks good, and they're taking it, right? But I will tell you, with most, you're able to get by with first, last deposit. So you're looking at about $7,000 with all those things including, assuming you do not have pets, okay? So cash out of pocket, if you're to go buy that same average 2007 home, and it's got 3 beds, 2 bathrooms, no pool, and about 1,900 square feet, you're probably looking at about $390, right? So $390 sounds like a big number, but what does that mean when it comes to how much cash I need out of pocket? With that rental, same house, you need about $7,000. Well, if you're going the cheapest way you can, assuming you're not a veteran, right, a military veteran, because then it's even cheaper. But assuming you're not a military veteran, you're looking at 3.5% down on FHA. You're looking at another roughly 3.5 to 4% in closing costs. Let's say 3.5, so the math's easier. That's 7%. 7% on 390. Well, on $400,000, it would be 28 minus. So you're looking at probably what, 27 A little over $27,000 is how much you need cash, right? And that doesn't include your inspection. It doesn't include your appraisal. So that's about another grand. You're looking at about $28,000. So the difference between buying and renting cash out of pocket on day one is 28 grand versus 7. If you don't have that amount of money, if you don't have 7% down, you're probably not in the game to purchase a home, unfortunately. Now, there are different ways you can do that, right? We can talk about gift money, and there's first-time home buyer programs, and not in this market, but if it's a more neutral market or a buyer's market, you can talk about asking for the seller to pay for your closing costs. There are all different types of things that you can do to lower that amount. But if you really want to know that you've got the most amount of control over being able to do it, you're going to want to be around that 7%, right? 3.5 for down, 3.5 for closing costs. So that's the upfront, right? Roughly 7% versus on the rent side, first, last, and a deposit plus maybe $100, $200 for application, stuff like that. So it is going to be cheaper out of pocket to rent, right? If your credit score is rough, there are different situations where it would be advantageous to do both, right? I want to focus more on the financial side of it, not the credit score side. But I will say landlords can decide they want to do whatever they want. If they say you got to have a 700 credit score, then you got to have a 700 credit score. If they don't care about credit score, then they don't care about credit score. You can also negotiate. I've seen people who say, I need X credit score. The renter doesn't have it, but they say, hey, my credit score sucks, but what if instead of first, last deposit, I give first, last, and 2 deposits, or first and the last 2 months and 2 deposits, or something that kind of livens up my offer a little bit, even though my credit sucks. Now you've got something you can negotiate with. You're not going to negotiate with Wells Fargo, the lender, if your credit sucks. That's just not how it works, right? You're going to have to work on your credit, which is doable. Most people can fix their credit within months, not years, months, and they can purchase a home if you're doing the right things. So you can do that too, right? But you're not going to be able to negotiate credit on the purchase like you would be on the rent side. So now that you've got the cash out of pocket situation kind of, under wraps, you've got a good feel for that. Let's talk about the monthly payment. If you're looking at an average rental, again, I'm telling you it's about $2,300, $2,500, $2,600, somewhere in that range. If you were to buy a $390,000 home, I'm going to pull up a calculator here. $390,000, and you're putting down 3.5%. That means you're funding $376,000, $350,000, right? So on that amount, you've got principal and interest. That's your mortgage. And then you've got taxes, which differ everywhere you go, and insurance, which also differs everywhere you go. The provider you use doesn't have a metal roof. Are the windows impact? What area you're in? Are you in a flood zone? All those different things will impact the price of your insurance, right? But I usually say before rates went up, rates just went up a little bit, you're looking at about $65 per 10 grand is going to be your monthly payment, plus any HOA that you have. But now the rates have gone up. Again, this is more of a lender discussion than it is for me. But I would say, oh man, I just got rid of that. Let me do that again. 390. Come on, Joe. Times 0.975. $965, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to take $75 per 10 grand instead of $65 because rates have gone up a little bit, right? You're looking at $28.22 a month. $28.22 a month is what you're going to be paying. So now you're saying, okay, well, $28.22 versus $23 to $26, that's a little bit more expensive. Okay, but here's the deal. You've got 2 wonderful things going on for you when you purchase a home. Number one, you're paying that house down. So every month, I think my mortgage payment without HOA is around $2,200, right? Of that 22, about $800-900 of it is going to pay down what I owe on that mortgage. So if you bought this home at $390, which is the average price right now in Port St. Lucie, and you're making your mortgage payment every single month, and let's say you're paying down $800 every single month, you're paying down $10,000 a year. So even if the market is flat for 5 years, you'll have paid over $50,000 down. So when you go to sell it, you've got some equity. You don't get that with rent. You're paying down somebody else's equity, right? And the second thing you get, which we've seen monstrously true here in the last 2 years, is you've got the appreciation of the market. So the market's going up. It's been 20, 30+% the last couple of years. Now, that's not normal. You're not going to get that normally, right? And you can't look, well, what's it going to be next year? If you're looking at next year, personally, I think that's a poor decision, right? You need to look at, if I stay in this home for 10, 15 years, where am I going to be most intelligently suited financially, renting or purchasing? There's never, not even in 2008, which was the worst housing market we've ever seen in the history of America, we've never seen a market where it doesn't make sense to purchase. Let me reword that. Where if you purchase a property today and it's the highest where the market is and the market tanks, in 10 years, you will have still made appreciation on your property. So short term, yes, you're taking a risk. Long term, in real estate, in the stock market, if you're vested amongst, let's say, the S&P 500, not just in one stock, we've never seen a 10-year span where you're not winning on appreciation. So now you've not only got the payments going down, or what you owe, right? Your payments are paying down what you owe, but you've also got the appreciation of the market. That's pretty dang awesome. And while rents are going up every year, your principal and interest stay the same. They don't change. That's pretty dang awesome. Dorothy, what do we got? There's a return when it's yours. I can't wait to stop renting. I hear you. It's awesome. You're paying down a mortgage no matter what, right? You're either paying down your mortgage for your landlord or you're paying down your mortgage for yourself. But either way, you're paying down a mortgage. Why wouldn't you want it to be yours? Why wouldn't you want to get in there and make those changes? But I will say, you've got to get your credit straight. You got to get your credit straight. And the other thing is, you got to have the cash out of the pocket. Credit is something that's pretty easily fixed. 2-3 months for most people, 6 months for challenging people, and you're right in the game. The challenge is the cash. We've got a problem in America. I'm telling you, I've got all kinds of people making 35, 40 grand a year who save cash, right? They're saving cash. And they've got the money to be able to come in with 7%, 3.5% for FHA down payment, 3.5% for closing costs. They can do it. It might take 2-3 years, but they can do it. But we got a spending problem, in my opinion, in America. We like to spend, and talk about how tough it is. Listen, it's life. Build your skills. Go do something great. Lower your costs, right? Take pride in living on this much. Knowing that you're not just living on this much, but you're living on this much so you can get a house and you can build that equity. And you can take that wealth that you build over 20, 30, 40 years and you can pass it on to your kids, and now you're creating generational wealth. I just had a friend purchased a home out in Colorado a couple years ago, 400 grand. And she was talking about putting it back on the market at $600,000. She said, my realtor said 600 grand. I can't believe that. That's crazy. How awesome is this going to be? It's been on the market for less than a day. She called me this morning at 5:30. Joe, I woke up on my realtor, said I got an offer for $650, right? 50 grand over. But if I accept it by noon today, because they're trying to pressure me not to allow other offers, they'll give me $700. That's $300,000 more than she paid for that house. There's no scenario on the planet where that discussion's occurring ever with a rental. And if you have fear in your mind, right, because people are driven by fear more than they are by pleasure, I'll tell you this again. Rewind history and go back to the day in probably 06, 07, when the market was at its absolute peak, and purchase a home for the dumbest, highest price you could have. And after a handful of years, I'm guessing 5, 6, something like that, tops, you will be back to where you were because of appreciation, even after the most ridiculous market drop ever. Not to mention the fact that the entire time you'll have paid down into your equity the whole time. It's pretty amazing. So guys, what's cheaper? Cash out of pocket, it's going to be more to buy. Monthly payment, in this one situation, it was a little bit higher. Usually it's about the same, maybe even a little bit lower. So there's where I'd want to run some numbers. But I do find, and I'm making a generalization here, people who tend to progress in their work, progress with their body, progress with their finances, progress with their relationships, they just progress. They figure out ways to make this happen, right? Because they know it's the good decision long-term for them. And it does suck. There is a level of suck to lowering your expenses or working hard or saving up money and getting it. But my gosh, I'll tell you, anybody who's sold their home for the first time, especially in a market like this, whoo, that's a good feeling. And you're going to love it. Guys, have an absolutely amazing day. Get out there and save some money, build up some wealth, and let's get you a house. Have a good weekend.